Episode 789.
No problem. I'm starting then.
Before anyone could even voice their doubts, Invincible and Handsomest had already charged in and aggroed the boss.
Man, that was decisive.
The group grumbled, then hurried after him.
Spread out into a fan formation. Keep the 90-degree zone in front clear. Didn't you memorize this?
It had barely started, and Invincible Most Handsome was already barking orders. Everyone was in tears. They hadn't even seen which way the boss's face was pointing yet. Is it really necessary to be this strict?
What's that cleric doing? Standing behind me is asking for death. Move to the side, anywhere outside the 90-degree fan.
The crowd fell silent. Standing behind him was Shi Ji Yang. Even the guild leader got chewed out like a dog. Is this the aura of a top-tier MT? Come to think of it, everyone's gotten far too used to Seven Leaf Flowers pushover style.
Can't figure out 90 degrees? Then take the boss as the vertex, the line between me and the boss as the axis, and stay outside the fan-shaped area 2 o'clock positions to the left and right.
The crowd watched in silence, a heavy sorrow settling in their hearts.
Lord Commander, pull yourself together.
Moving so slow, with such a terrible field of view. It's absolutely embarrassing.
Some players were thinking just that. Invincible Most Handsome naturally took Shi Ji Yang's place as the team's commander, and even his tone of voice had changed. The first one to get chewed out was the raid leader, Joy Sheep. Quite a few people were indignant. Sure, they hadn't killed this boss yet, but Invincible Most Handsome had only glanced at a guide 10 minutes before entering the instance. What makes him so special that he gets to bark orders like that? Anyone can read a script and say the lines, right? Someone couldn't resist the urge to sneer, but then the final boss's guardian, the keeper of the aerial tomb, Emchet, suddenly raised his shovel, one that looked less like a gravekeeper's tool and more like a grave robber's, and slammed it into the ground. Cracks split the ground, light pulsing through them like ripples of some arcane power. These ripples burst forth from the cracks in the ground, writhing with a savage energy for a moment, and everyone who had been about to speak immediately fell silent. Because they saw Shi Ji Yang, slow-moving and just scolded by Invincible Most Handsome, get torn apart in an instant by the mana fluctuations surging from the cracks in the ground, not even a corpse left behind.
Move out.
Before the crowd could even register their shock, the commanding voice rang out once more. The guild leader's fall didn't shake Invincible Most Handsome in the slightest. The moment the gravekeeper swung his shovel down, he had already sidestepped to the right, the swirling mana waves missing him entirely. The moment the aggro target moved, the boss naturally spun around to follow. None of them dared to slack off. They all scrambled to stand directly behind the boss. They could see clearly now. The crack left by that shovel strike spread out from the boss at a perfect 90-degree angle, left and right. Invincible's coolest kept shouting warnings, but Joy Sheep wasn't fast enough and got flattened on the spot, didn't they? Still, the raid leader's sacrifice wasn't entirely in vain. At least it showed everyone just how terrifying that skill really was. This kind of first-hand experience isn't something you can get from watching videos or reading guides. The guides at most mention the skill's range and how to dodge it, but just watching from the sidelines doesn't make it seem like a big deal. Only when you're on the spot do you realize just how fast this skill activates. Dodging it isn't so easy. Shi Ji Yang had already started sprinting, but the skill still caught him before he could escape its range. He was taken out in one hit.
Melee classes, don't rush. Alternate mid-range and close-range attack skills with forward and backward movement. Maintain your spacing and fall back on your own after using a close-range skill.
Invincible Most Handsome kept directing the operation. In a 100-player dungeon, the boss had to be big enough for everyone to spread out and fight, so the boss's body was usually quite imposing, allowing multiple melee fighters to surround it without having to queue up for their turn to deal damage. But with a freak skill like the Gravekeeper Amset's, a quarter of the zone instantly became a no-go area, and the melee classes immediately found themselves cramped for space. Emchet was tall, Sure, but he wasn't some dragon that dozens of people could just surround. The players now witnessed the sheer terror of that skill. It wasn't just a 90-degree arc, it swept a full 180. So everyone surged to the boss's back. The ranged classes had no issue, but the melee fighters found themselves struggling to get their attacks in. Yishu had given them a pointer, but a single sentence left most of them still fumbling for the thread. The melee fighters were still in chaos, but the ranged gunners and mages were having a field day, dishing out damage like it was nothing, until Wudi Zui Junlang called them out.
The ranged players are too far out. With that much distance, their positioning adjustments will be too slow. They won't make it in time.
These were all things Yishu had laid out in his 1, 2, 3, 4 summary before the fight even started. But when the real battle came, it was always hard to keep track of everything. Just managing skill rotations and DPS was enough to keep everyone busy, and in the heat of the moment, some of those instructions just slipped their minds. Hearing the commander's order, all the ranged players quickly pressed forward. Just then, the boss unleashed another big move. It drove its shovel into the ground, twisted its body, and began to spin around.
Run counterclockwise, hurry!
Invincible Most Handsome immediately shouted. The crowd watched as the shovel carved almost a trench in its wake, and the light spilling from it was identical to what had seeped through the earlier cracks. Only now, the force was far more overwhelming. Terrified out of their wits, everyone immediately turned and ran in the direction Invincible Most Handsome had indicated. But someone got clever, ran straight instead of circling. But as the shovel sliced through the mana surge erupting from the trench, it instantly swept up the surrounding player characters, regardless of their class, and swallowed them whole, vanishing without a trace. Just like that, the Joy Sheep team lost 6 more. The survivors dared not slack off. They finally understood. Every command from Invincible Most Handsome had its reason. If you're told to spin, you spin. Disobey and you end up like the guild leader and these 6. Of course, Shi Ji Yang was just a bit slow to react at first. As for these 6, they were the ones who really thought they were clever by not listening. The shovel carved a half circle through the dirt, and by then the ranged classes finally understood why they couldn't stand too far back. Stand too far, and the radius grows. A bigger circle means a longer run, and a longer run means you just might be slower than that shovel. To dodge this skill, you clearly had to get ahead of the shovel. The moment you fell behind, even if you didn't take a direct hit, you'd be swallowed by the light bursting from the trench. 2 ultimate moves in a row, each one taking someone down. The Happy Sheep team was getting more and more tense. They'd known from the start that the final boss wouldn't be a simple, brainless, stationary target, but the sheer, brutal difficulty that greeted them still caught everyone off guard. Take that spin attack just now. If Invincible Hero hadn't called it out in advance, no one would have even realized the boss was unleashing its ultimate move. In other words, without Wudi Zui Junlang, they'd probably be wiped out by now.